The man laughed because he thought the woman holding the mop had no power in the room. Nia Okafor let him finish, looked him in the eye, and answered with a single line that wiped every smile away. She thought she'd just put the only steady job she had at risk. She did not know the Japanese CEO stood behind the conference room glass and was listening to every word. If you're listening from the United States, tell me where you're listening from in the comments. Could you move your chair, please? Nia's voice was calm. Koji Matsuda looked up from his phone. He did not move. Around him, 4 younger executives finished drinks beside a conference table. The table was covered with empty cups and food containers. Their meeting had ended almost 40 minutes earlier. Nia had already cleaned the rest of the floor. Only this room remained. "I need to clean underneath," she said. Koji leaned back. "You people always come at the worst time." Nia tightened her grip on the mop handle. "I can return in 10 minutes. One of the men glanced at Koji and smiled. Koji looked at Nia's uniform. Then he looked at the cleaning cart behind her. "You should." Nia turned the cart around. Then Koji spoke again. "And learn better Japanese before you tell people what to do." The smile disappeared from Nia's face. She understood every word. Koji knew she did. That was why he had said it. Another employee gave a quiet laugh. Nia stopped. She had spent 14 months cleaning Takashiro Group's headquarters at night. She knew which executives left coffee cups beneath desks, which managers thanked the cleaners, and which people avoided looking at them entirely. Koji belonged to the last group, unless he wanted an audience. Tonight he had one. He stood and adjusted his jacket. "You come into a company like this, dress like that, and start giving instructions." Nia looked down at herself. Gray cleaning uniform, black work shoes, rubber gloves tucked into one pocket. Nothing unusual. Nothing shameful. Koji continued. "Some people should remember where they are." Nia slowly turned back toward him. The room became quieter. "What exactly should I remember?" Koji seemed surprised she had answered. He smiled again. "That this is Takashiro Group." "I know. And you're here to clean." "Yes. So clean." Nia looked at the chair he had refused to move. "A man who needs my job to feel important probably isn't as important as he thinks." No one laughed. Koji's expression changed immediately. Nia did not raise her voice. That made it worse. "You think because I clean this floor, I don't understand what you say around me. I understand enough." One of Koji's colleagues looked away. Nia continued. "I work. You work. The difference is that I don't need to humiliate you to feel good about mine." Koji took one step toward her. "You should be careful." Nia held his stare. "So should you." For several seconds, neither moved. Then Nia pulled the cleaning cart forward. "Now are you moving the chair?" The youngest employee stood first. He moved his. 2 others followed. Koji remained still for another moment. Then he grabbed his phone and walked out. Nia began cleaning. Her hands were steady until the door closed. Then she noticed the slight tremor in her fingers. She had rent due in 9 days. Her mother in Birmingham was waiting for money at the end of the month. Her savings were still nowhere near what they had been before Daniel disappeared from her life. He had left with promises, excuses, and most of what they had built together. She could not afford unemployment. Nia pushed the thought aside. The floor still needed cleaning. Behind the darkened glass wall of the adjoining conference room, Ren Takashiro had not moved. He had entered halfway through the argument after a call with Singapore investors. His executive assistant stood beside him, holding a tablet. Ren watched Nia push chairs into place. "Who is she?" His assistant followed his gaze. "One of the night cleaners. I can see that." A pause. "Nia Okafor. She works for Hoshida Facility Services." Ren looked toward the hallway Koji had used. "And Matsuda Corporate Development. I know who Matsuda is." The assistant said nothing. Ren returned his attention to Nia. She finished cleaning the table without looking toward the glass once. She had no idea he was there. That interested him more than the argument itself. Most people changed when they knew Ren Takashiro was watching. Voices softened, postures straightened. Opinions became cautious. Nia had defended herself while believing no one with authority would help her. Ren walked out before she finished. 2 nights later, Nia entered the executive floor and found him standing beside his desk. She recognized him immediately. Everyone recognized Ren Takashiro. Tall, controlled, always photographed in dark suits beside hotel openings, investors, and government officials. Nia lowered her gaze briefly. "Good evening." "Good evening." She waited for him to leave. He did not. "I need to clean this area." Ren looked at the papers spread across his desk. Then he gathered them himself. Nia watched. Executives normally expected her to work around everything. Ren placed the documents into a leather folder. "Is this enough space?" "Yes." He stepped away. Nia began wiping the desk. After several seconds, he said, "Thank you." Her hand stopped. She looked at him. "For what?" "For cleaning." Nia almost smiled. "That is what I'm paid for. People can still be thanked for doing what they're paid for." She studied his face, trying to decide whether he was making fun of her. He appeared completely serious. "Then you're welcome." Ren nodded and left. The next night, he was there again. And the night after that. Sometimes he worked. Sometimes he stood beside the windows taking calls. He never tried to stop her from doing her job. He simply began appearing later than he used to. Nia noticed. She refused to ask why. A week passed before Ren found her sitting alone in the employee break room at nearly midnight. She had removed her work gloves and was eating convenience store noodles from a paper cup. A small notebook lay open beside her. Ren entered carrying coffee. Nia immediately closed the notebook. He noticed. "What was that nothing? That looked like something." "It belongs to me." Ren sat across from her. "I wasn't planning to confiscate it." Nia raised an eyebrow. "You're the CEO. I don't know what CEOs confiscate." He almost smiled. "Usually budgets." She looked at his coffee. "You own luxury hotels." And drink that Ren looked at the cup. "What's wrong with it?" "Everything." That made him laugh. It was brief and unexpected. Nia stared at him. Ren noticed. "What I didn't know? You did that." "Laugh, yes. I occasionally make exceptions." Nia shook her head and returned to her noodles. Ren looked at the closed notebook again. "Do you always work nights?" "Mostly. Why, because nights pay better? That can't be the whole reason." Nia looked at him. He waited. He did not repeat the question. Finally, she said, "I have responsibilities. Family. My mother." Ren nodded. "And I prefer earning my own money." There was something in the way she said it that ended the subject. Ren understood enough not to push. Nia stood and threw away the empty cup. The notebook slipped slightly beneath her hand. For 1 second, Ren saw a page. A hand-drawn counter. Menu notes, numbers, a heading, written in English, café costs. Nia closed it immediately. Ren looked at her. "You want to open a restaurant?" "A café." The correction came quickly. Ren nodded. "A café." Nia placed the notebook into her bag. It was an idea, as she looked toward the door. Some ideas get expensive. Then she returned to work. Ren remained sitting at the table after she left. For the first time since noticing Nia Okafor, he understood that the cleaning uniform was not the most important thing about her. It was simply the part of her life everyone else had stopped looking beyond. Ren stopped asking about the notebook. That was the first thing Nia noticed. He had seen enough to understand that it mattered to her. After that night, he never asked to see it again. He did not tell her that Takashiro Group owned restaurants, kitchen suppliers, or people who could turn a sketch into a business plan. He didn't bring it up again. That made Nia more willing to speak with him. Their conversations remained short at first. Sometimes she found him leaving the executive floor as she arrived. Sometimes they crossed paths near the service elevators after midnight. Ren stopped pretending they were accidents. One evening, he was carrying 2 folders toward the elevator when Nia looked at the stack in his hands. "No assistant tonight," she went home. "You allowed that." Ren looked at her. I have been told employees occasionally need sleep. Nia gave him a dry look. Progressive management. He smiled and entered the elevator. She stayed outside. Aren't you coming? This is the executive elevator. And I have another one. Ren held the doors. Nia. She looked at him. It's an elevator. After a moment, she stepped inside. That small decision should not have mattered. It did. The elevator descended in silence until Ren asked, How long have you been in Japan? Almost 3 years. Do you like Tokyo? Some days, and the other days, I pay rent on the other days. Ren laughed softly. The doors opened. Nia stepped out first. She began walking toward the staff corridor before Ren spoke again. You said your café was an idea. She stopped. He had waited nearly 2 weeks to return to it. It still is. What kind? Nia hesitated. Then she turned. Nigerian food that doesn't pretend it has to become less Nigerian just because it's being served here. Some Japanese ingredients where they make sense. Small menu, good coffee. Food people can actually afford more than once. Ren listened without interrupting. She realized she had said more than she intended. You've thought about it seriously. I used to. What changed? Her expression closed slightly. Money. That can be solved. Nia's face changed immediately. Ren saw it. I didn't mean I know what you meant. I know people who invest in restaurants, and I don't want to meet them. Ren studied her. You haven't heard the terms. I don't need to. Why? Because I don't want the first serious conversation about my business to happen because the CEO likes talking to the cleaner after midnight. The words landed harder than she intended. Ren did not become defensive. He nodded once. Fair. That answer disarmed her more than an argument would have. Nia looked away. There was someone before. Ren remained silent. She had not planned to explain. My fiancé. Daniel. We were supposed to build something together. I saved. He saved. At least I thought he did. Ren's expression became still. When it ended, most of the money ended with it. He took it enough. Ren's jaw tightened. Nia noticed. I don't need you to be angry for me. I wasn't going to say anything. You looked like you were. That is different. For the first time, she smiled without trying to hide it. Then, she walked away. 3 nights later, Ren left a board dinner earlier than expected. He was crossing the service level when he heard something hit the concrete stairwell. He opened the door. Nia was sitting 2 steps below the landing. A plastic supply bottle had rolled against the wall. Her face was tight with pain. Ren moved toward her. Don't. He stopped immediately. Nia looked down at her ankle. I slipped. Can you stand? Yes. She tried. She could not. Ren said nothing. Nia sat back down, irritated more than frightened. I covered another shift. I can see that. I didn't ask for commentary. You also didn't ask your ankle? She stared at him. Then, despite herself, she laughed once. Ren crouched a short distance away, without touching her. Clinic. I can get home. I believe you. That caught her attention. He continued. But I think you should get it checked. Nia looked at the swollen ankle, then at him. All right. He did not pick her up. He did not call 3 assistants. He handed her the stair rail and offered his arm. He waited until she chose to use it. At the clinic, the doctor confirmed a severe sprain, but no fracture. Nia paid before Ren could reach for his wallet. Outside, he opened the car door. I can take the train. No. She raised an eyebrow. Ren corrected himself. May I drive you home? That sounded painful. It was. She got into the car. For several minutes, neither spoke. Then Ren said, You thought I was going to pay for everything. Yes. Why? Because you can. He considered that. And that bothers you. It bothers me when people confuse helping with deciding. Ren looked ahead. The answer stayed with him. When they reached her building, Nia unfastened her seatbelt. My ex used to call decisions help too. Ren turned toward her. She continued before he could respond. Where we lived. what we saved, what I should do with my money. It always sounded reasonable until I realized every reasonable choice ended with me having less control. Ren did not tell her he was different. He understood that claiming it would prove nothing. Instead, he said, "Then tell me when I cross that line." Nia looked at him for several seconds. "I will. I believe that too." The next morning, a message appeared on her phone. How was the ankle? Nia stared at it. No flowers, no expensive delivery, no doctor sent to her apartment, just the question. She replied, "Gee, still attached?" Ren answered almost immediately, "Good. Keep it that way." Over the next few days, the messages remained simple. By the time Nia returned to work, she no longer wondered whether he would write. She expected it. That frightened her slightly more than his money ever had. A week later, they were sitting in the nearly empty employee cafeteria after midnight. Nia had finished her shift. Ren had finished a meeting. For once, neither had a reason to remain. Ren looked at her across the table. "I want to ask you something." "That sounds dangerous." "It might be." Nia waited. "I'd like to have dinner with you." She said nothing. "Somewhere that isn't my office," he added, "and where you aren't working." Nia watched him carefully. There was no command in his voice. No assumption, just an invitation. One dinner one, and no investment proposals. Ren nodded. No investment proposals. She let the silence stretch long enough to make him uncomfortable. Then she stood. "Saturday." Ren looked up. "Saturday. One dinner." She walked toward the exit before he could smile too much. Behind her, Ren remained seated for several seconds, looking like a man who had just been given something far more valuable than permission to buy anything. On Saturday, Ren arrived alone without a driver. Nia noticed that before anything else. He was standing outside a narrow restaurant in Kagurazaka, wearing a dark coat and no tie, checking the time as though being 2 minutes early mattered. "You look nervous," she said. Ren put his phone away. "I am evaluating the restaurant. You've been here before. That does not make me less thorough." Nia looked through the window. There were 6 tables inside, no private room, no staff waiting to greet him by name. "You chose this. I ate here when I was younger, before you became terrifying, before people started pretending my jokes were funny." Nia opened the door. That must be difficult. It was the first time they had met, without one of them being inside the other's workplace. The difference was immediate. Ren did not have papers waiting for him. Nia was not wearing a uniform. There was no cleaning cart or executive floor. There was no reason for either of them to leave after 5 minutes. Then dinner arrived. Ren ordered badly. Nia told him so. He disagreed. She tasted his dish. She shook her head and moved one of the small plates toward herself. "You're stealing my food. I am correcting your mistake." By the end of dinner, Ren had stopped checking the time. They walked several blocks afterward. Neither called it a date again. They did not need to. The second time they met, Nia chose the place. The third time, Ren brought no plan at all. Their lives did not suddenly become easier. Ren still disappeared into board meetings and international calls. Nia still worked nights and counted every expense before the end of the month. Sometimes they saw each other for 20 minutes. Sometimes they went 3 days without meeting. But the effort became mutual. That mattered more to Nia than frequency. One evening, she brought a small container into the executive lounge and placed it in front of Ren. He looked at it. "What is this research? For what you ask too many questions." He opened it. The smell made him sit straighter. Nia watched him take the first bite. "Well," Ren chewed slowly, "it is very good." That sounded diplomatic. "It is excellent. Better." He took another bite. "What is it?" "One of the dishes I wanted for the café." Ren looked at her. She had begun saying wanted less often. Now it was wanted, sometimes want. He noticed the difference. Nia noticed that he noticed and looked away. "Don't start." "I didn't say anything. You were about to." Ren continued eating. A week later, they stood outside her apartment building after dinner. Nia had been quieter than usual. Ren did not ask why until they reached the entrance. Then he stopped. "Something's wrong." She exhaled. "No? Something is becoming complicated?" "Us?" "Yes." Ren waited. Nia looked down the street. "I like this." He said nothing. "That is the problem. I don't understand. You don't have to. I would prefer to." She finally looked at him. "Your life doesn't stay private. Mine does." Ren's expression tightened slightly. "I know." "No, you know intellectually. I walk into your building wearing a cleaning uniform. You walk into mine, and people assume you own it. I don't. That's not the point." He accepted that. Nia continued, "I don't want to wake up one morning and discover that everything about me has become a story about you." Ren paused for a moment before answering. "I can't promise that nobody will talk. I know. I can promise I won't decide what you should tolerate on the excuse that being with me makes it worthwhile." It was not romantic. That was why she believed him. Nia stepped closer. Ren did not move until she did. Their first kiss was brief. No audience, no declaration. When they separated, Nia rested one hand against his coat for half a second before removing it. "One dinner," Ren said quietly. "Don't ruin this." He smiled. The rumors began 9 days later. At first, Nia noticed only the silence. Employees who had once ignored her suddenly held doors open. One manager thanked her 3 times for replacing a trash bag. Another woman tried to ask casually whether Nia knew what Ren planned to do with a hotel acquisition. Nia stared at her until she walked away. Then came the opposite reaction. Whispers near elevators, people looking at Ren's office and then at Nia. A photo appeared in an internal group chat showing them leaving the building several minutes apart. Nothing improper, that did not matter. Koji saw his opportunity. Nia was placing supplies into a storage cabinet when he stopped nearby. 2 other employees were with him. So this was the plan. Nia closed the cabinet. What plan? Koji smiled. Cleaning took too long. She looked at him. He lowered his voice just enough to make the insult deliberate. "I suppose there are faster ways to improve your position." Nia's face became still. "Say exactly what you mean." Koji hesitated. He had expected embarrassment. "Not a demand." Then Ren's voice came from behind him. "Matsuda." Everyone turned. Ren did not raise his voice. Koji immediately straightened. "Sir." Ren looked at Nia first, then at the 2 witnesses. What was said? Koji started speaking. Ren stopped him. "I didn't ask you." The others remained silent until one finally repeated the remark. Ren's expression did not change. "HR. Now." Koji stared at him. "Sir, I was only now." That was all. No speech, no public humiliation. By the next day, several employees had confirmed that Koji's behavior toward Nia was not new. He was formally disciplined. Nia appreciated that Ren never called it defending her. He called it enforcing company standards. But outside Takashiro Group, the story grew differently. 3 days later, Nia's supervisor asked her to come to the contractor's office before her shift. The meeting lasted 12 minutes. They said the client environment had become sensitive. They said her personal situation was drawing attention. They said reassignment would be better for everyone. Nia listened until the supervisor finished. "You're cutting my hours. We are moving you to locations with fewer shifts." Silence. "Because I'm dating Ren Takashiro." "We didn't say that. You didn't need to." That evening, Ren found her outside in the building. She had already changed out of uniform. What happened, Nia told him. His reaction was immediate. "I'll call them." "No, Nia, no. They cannot do this. They already did. I can fix it." Her expression hardened. With one phone call, Ren stopped. "Yes, that is exactly the problem." He looked at her. "You want me to watch this happen. I want you to understand that your solution always begins with power. And yours always begins with refusing help, because help from you can change somebody else's job before breakfast." Ren's jaw tightened. "So, what am I supposed to do?" For once Nia stepped back. "Nothing." The word sat between them. She turned before either of them said something worse. By midnight, Nia had submitted applications to 4 other companies. Ren sat alone in his office with his phone on the desk. For the first time since meeting her, the hardest thing he could offer Nia was not intervention. It was restraint. Nia took the first job that gave her enough hours. It was not glamorous. A small café near Shinakubo needed someone who could prep vegetables and clean the kitchen. They also wanted someone to cover the register when necessary and stay late when deliveries ran behind. The pay was lower than what she had earned cleaning Takashiro Group, but the work was steady. She accepted. For the first week, she barely spoke to Ren. Not because she wanted to punish him, because she needed to know she could still make decisions without measuring them against what he might do. Ren understood that eventually. His first instinct had been to call the contractor. His second had been to call their legal department. Instead, he did neither. He went through Takashiro Group's procurement records. The cleaning company handled 8 of their properties. Ren asked compliance to review the contract. He did not mention Nia. 2 weeks later, the report landed on his desk. Unpaid overtime complaints. Workers removed from client sites without written cause. Repeated records showed employees being reassigned after comments about age, nationality, appearance, or language ability. Nia had not been an exception. She had been part of a pattern. Ren read the report twice. Then, Takashiro Group terminated the contract under its labor compliance provisions. The decision affected hundreds of employees. It required a replacement vendor transition planning and board approval. It was slower than one phone call. That was the point. Ren told Nia only after the notice had been issued. They were sitting in a quiet restaurant, halfway between her apartment and the café. Nia listened without interrupting. You investigated them? The company investigated a contractor. Because of me. Because what happened to you gave us cause to look. She studied him, and if they hadn't found anything, we would still be having a harder conversation. Nia nodded slowly. That answer mattered. You didn't get my supervisor fired, no. You didn't threaten anyone, no. You hated that. Ren almost smiled. Very much. Nia looked down at her tea. The anger between them had changed. Not disappeared, changed. I shouldn't have told you to do nothing, she said. Ren waited. I was angry because I lost control again. I know. No, let me finish. He did. I keep treating every offer like it's the beginning of somebody taking over. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. Ren leaned back slightly. Nia continued. You also have a problem. I suspected this conversation would reach that conclusion. You solve things too fast. I run a company. You run everything. That is less accurate, not by much. He accepted that with a small nod. Nia looked at him. When you can't fix something, you look uncomfortable. I am uncomfortable. Why, Ren thought before answering. Because doing something feels like caring. And not doing something sometimes feels like failing. Nia held his gaze. That is what you need to learn. Ren nodded. I know. For once, neither tried to make the moment warmer than it was. The relationship resumed carefully, not back to what it had been. Forward. Nia's new café job changed something else. For the first time in years, she was working around food again. She started with prep. Then the owner noticed how quickly she reorganized a chaotic storage shelf. A week later, he asked whether she could help adjust portion costs. 2 weeks after that, Nia brought home a notebook filled with new calculations. The old café pages returned. Different now, less fantasy, more numbers. Ingredient costs, rent ceilings, equipment estimates. She began cooking again on Sundays. Not for Ren, for herself. He became useful later. Nia brought him a printed business plan and placed it on his dining table. Ren looked at the cover. You're serious. I was always serious. You stopped. I paused. He touched the first page. What do you want from me? Read it. As what, an investor? His expression changed. Nia noticed. Not my boyfriend. That sounds less enjoyable. Good. Ren spent 3 nights reviewing it. When they met again, he returned the document. Notes covered nearly every page. Nia stared at him. You wrote on it? You asked me to review it, you attacked it. The rent assumption is wrong. It is conservative. It is optimistic. She opened another page. You crossed out my staffing plan. You cannot afford that staffing plan. You own hotels, which is why you asked me. Nia glared at him. Ren remained calm. The concept is strong. Your food costs are reasonable. Your target customer is clear. She waited, but this location would kill you within a year. Nia hated hearing it. That was how she knew he was not flattering her. She took the plan home. 3 weeks later, she returned with a revised version. Smaller space, lower fixed costs, shorter menu, more realistic cash reserves. Ren read it again. This time he said, "Now I would invest." Nia folded her arms. Terms. He slid a proposal across the table. She read it, then read it again. No. Ren looked up. No, too much equity. It reflects the capital risk. It reflects you thinking, I'm going to be grateful. I do not think that. You should take 15%. 25, 18, 22. Nia leaned back. 20. I keep operational control. Ren watched her. And the repayment schedule. Separate from our relationship. If we break up, nothing changes. The sentence stayed in the room for a moment. Ren did not react defensively. Agreed. Nia added another condition. No company branding. No Takashiro name anywhere. Ren nodded. Agreed. She looked at him suspiciously. You're enjoying this. A little. For the first time in months, she laughed without carrying something heavy behind it. They found the storefront 6 weeks later. It was narrow, old, and badly lit. The kitchen needed work. The walls needed everything. Nia walked through it slowly, while the property agent explained the lease. Ren stayed near the door. He did not point out what should change. He did not ask what she wanted until the agent left. Nia stood in the center of the empty room. I can see it. Ren looked around. I can't. She turned toward him. Good. He smiled. Nia walked to the front window. For years she had believed independence meant refusing every hand extended toward her. Now she understood the difference. Ren had not built this for her. He had not chosen it. He had not rescued her into it. He had learned to stand close without standing in front. And Nia had learned that choosing help on her own terms was not the same as surrendering anything. Opening morning began with a broken receipt printer. Nia stood behind the counter with the machine open, one hand inside it. The first customer waited patiently. Ren was already there. He had arrived early with coffee. He immediately offered to help. Nia pointed toward a stack of unopened napkins. Those need to go on the tables. Ren looked at the printer. I can fix that. Napkins? He stared at her for a second. Then he picked up the napkins. The customer smiled. Nia did not until Ren turned away. The café opened without photographers or corporate announcements. No one from Takashiro Group stood outside to make the moment look larger than it was. Nia had insisted on that. She wanted customers, not spectators. The first day was busy enough to make her nervous. The second was quieter. The third was worse. By the end of the first week, she understood something no business plan could completely prepare her for. Owning the place did not feel like victory every morning. Sometimes it felt like standing alone in front of numbers that refused to care how hard she had worked. A supplier delivered the wrong quantity. A refrigerator stopped cooling properly. One employee called in sick during lunch service. Nia made mistakes. She adjusted. She learned which dishes people reordered and which ones they complimented once, but never bought again. She removed 2 items from the menu even though she loved them. Ren said nothing about it until she mentioned the decision herself. You liked that dish, he said. My customers didn't like it enough. You're disappointed. Yes, you're still removing it. Yes. Ren nodded. That sounds like ownership. Nia looked at him. That sounded almost useful. I am improving. Gradually, the quiet days became less frequent. Office workers started coming at lunch. Students found the place in the evenings. A Japanese couple who lived nearby began appearing every Sunday and ordering the same stew. 3 women from Nia's former cleaning crew arrived one afternoon after their shift. They stood uncertainly near the entrance. Nia recognized them immediately. "Sit down." One of them looked at the menu prices. "We're just saying hello." "You can say hello sitting down." They laughed and chose a table. Nia brought their food herself. No one discussed the old contractor for long. Takashiro Group's review had forced changes beyond one contract. New vendor agreements required documented anti-discrimination procedures, clearer reassignment policies, and wage compliance reporting. It did not repair everything that had happened. It changed something measurable. That made a difference. Koji remained at Takashiro Group for several more months. His disciplinary record followed him. It appeared in another complaint unrelated to Nia. Eventually he resigned. Ren never mentioned it until Nia asked. He left, yes. Because of me? No, Ren looked at her. Because eventually people answer for patterns. Nia accepted that answer. She did not need revenge. She needed distance. The café gave her that. Months passed. Nia paid herself carefully. Not much at first. Then, consistently. She continued sending money to her mother, but no longer emptied herself to do it. That change was harder than she expected. For years, survival had trained her to believe that keeping something for herself was selfish. Running the café required the opposite. Cash reserves mattered. Rest mattered. Saying no mattered. So did asking for help before exhaustion took over her body. Ren noticed that change without announcing it. One evening, a delivery arrived late while Nia was short-staffed. She called him. He answered from his car. "I need something." There was a pause. Ren felt the weight behind it. "What? Come here and carry boxes." He arrived 20 minutes later. No assistant, no solution, just his rolled sleeves and hands. Their relationship became less dramatic after that. Better, Nia thought. Ren still occasionally reached for control too quickly. Nia still occasionally rejected things before deciding whether she actually wanted them. Now they caught themselves. Sometimes. Not always. One Friday night, the café stayed full until closing. Nia finally locked the front door nearly an hour later than usual. Her feet hurt. The kitchen was clean. The register balanced. She turned toward the dining area and stopped. Ren was stacking chairs. His suit jacket hung over the back of one. He had already placed 4 chairs upside down on the tables. Nia leaned against the counter. "You have people for this. So do you." They went home. So did mine. He lifted another chair. The movement reminded her of something. That conference room. Koji had refused to move his chair because he believed her work made her smaller than him. Now, Ren Takashiro was lifting chairs in a café. Nia decided when the doors opened what the menu served and who had authority behind the counter. He noticed her watching. "What? Nothing? That usually means something." Nia walked toward him. Ren placed the chair down. "I've been thinking. That sounds expensive." For once, no. She waited. Ren looked around the room. "Do you remember telling me you didn't want to owe anyone anything?" "Yes. I used to think the answer was proving that you could trust me with more." Nia said nothing. I was wrong. He did not reach for her. He simply stood there. "I think the answer was learning that you never had to owe me for staying." Nia's expression softened. Ren continued. "You built this life very carefully. We built part of it together." Part. She appreciated the correction. He looked directly at her. "Is there room in it for me to stay?" Nia could have answered immediately. She did not. Not because she doubted him, because she understood what the question meant now. He was not offering protection. He was asking for a place. There was a difference. Nia looked at the remaining chairs. "Finish those." Ren glanced toward them. "That is your answer." "No." She stepped closer. "This is..." She kissed him. Briefly, deliberately. When she pulled back, Ren smiled. Then Nia pointed toward the tables. "Now, finish the chairs." He laughed and went back to work. Nia joined him. Later, she turned off the lights herself. Ren waited by the door while she checked the lock. Months earlier, she had walked through another building, carrying cleaning supplies while people decided what her uniform meant about her. Now, her name was on the lease. Her decisions were in the walls: the menu, the payroll, the mistakes, and the growing list of customers who returned because they wanted what she had made. Ren had changed too. He had spent most of his life believing power was useful because it could remove obstacles. Nia taught him that sometimes power became trustworthy only when it knew when not to intervene. She had learned something harder in return. Independence did not require isolation. Accepting love did not mean surrendering authorship over her own life. Nia locked the café. Ren held the door open. She stepped outside first. Love became possible when neither of them needed control to feel secure. Subscribe, and tell me in the comments where you're listening from and what you think really changed them.